Guys, it's your girl Kizzy Rock, and yes, Kizzy Rock is my birth given name. Happy Thursday morning. Want to say hey to all my subscribers, new as well as seasoned. I got a word for you. Tap in. In fact, I have a question for you. How do you guys hear from God? How do you hear from God? So I got a download that I wanted to share. Be very, very careful, especially during these times, that you don't allow other people to tell you how you hear from God. Especially now, because a lot of the insights and revelation that God is giving to us is things that He's requiring us to be quiet about until we're instructed to seek help or to even seek wise counsel. God may need to get you some information right now where He needs you to sit on it, meaning no matter how confused you are about it, no matter how you feel it's too over your head and you wouldn't know how to handle it, He may require you to sit on it for a while until He instructs you. So with that being said, it's very important that He needs you to hear from Him yourself. With certain visions, God will require you to be quiet about it. With certain visions, certain promises, God will require you to be quiet about it for different reasons. For one, He doesn't want anyone to get in there and to interrupt what He's saying to you, how He's communicating with you, and give you the wrong advice. And now you're off on a different path, a different course, because now you're full of despair, right? You're frustrated. Things are all confused. Next, when these blessings start to manifest through God, He doesn't want anyone else to get that glory. So you have a person who is giving you all this information and all this stuff. It's like when you start to reap these blessings, the person will take what's the word I'm looking for? Will take, I don't know. So be very careful, right? I've heard people say that they hear from God through the audible voice. I've heard people say most people that I know, I've always heard people say they hear from God through reading the Word. Some people say they get it from church. People like myself, there's because you're so spiritual sensitive, you get spiritual nudges and spiritual downloads, spiritual promptings from the spiritual realm. I've heard people say that they hear from God when they're in nature. So there are so many different ways you can hear from God, because let me just tell you, like, religion will have you thinking like the only way you can hear from God is to be sitting in the middle of church reading your Bible, and if you don't hear from God in church, you don't hear from God. Do you know how many people go to church and never heard from God? Do you know how many people go to church and never heard from God? I mean, they're there faithfully and never heard from God. And God may be trying to communicate with them, but because they're so conditioned to think that that's the only way, then they're not hearing from God. So what do? They chase the pastors down 30 times per day because they need a word from God. They need a word from God. You can hear from God yourself, but you have to remove that block of thinking that God only speaks to people in one way. And some of those pastors will leave them ignorant because they want the members to depend on them in that way. God speaks to us in sometimes the most subtle ways, through the most subtle things. You got to get still, right? The number one, well, I won't say number one because I don't know, but one of the major things that's going to keep you from hearing from God is your distractions. This is why God be throwing our behinds up in isolation season of stillness, and we're trying to figure out, what did I do? It's because He's trying to get something to you. You will hear from God a lot in those very dry seasons, because it's almost like He's stripped so many things from you that all you can do is be still. You don't have a job, you don't have a man, you don't have a woman, you don't have a car, all you can do is be still. And you feel like you're being tortured, but really God is trying to get something to you that's very crucial, and He only can give it to you. And you have to be very, very confident in the way you hear from God. You have to be so confident that someone else, including your pastor, can't tell you that that was not from God. Now, granted, will you miss it sometimes? Of course. But you have to be so confident in what you felt in your spirit that nobody can tell you what you heard. Only you heard it. Only you felt it, because it's for you. So you can have a conversation with someone all day long about what you feel God has said to you, what you felt in your spirit. The reason why they're not going to grasp it like you do is because it's not in their spirit. Now, if they're spiritually mature, then they can probably relate to you because maybe it's something that they've experienced themselves, or of course God has given them some confirmation or whatever to give to you. But if you know that you felt something and you heard from God, please be very, very careful when people are telling you that God wouldn't do this, God wouldn't say that. Now, some things, granted, yes, right? You get the point I'm trying to make here. God's not going to tell you to go do some old sinful, crazy stuff. But I'm speaking just about a download that you felt that God have given you a promise. I don't care who agrees. Your own mama don't have to agree with it. But if you know it, you got to ride on that thing. This is another reason why God starts pruning people too, because if you got too many voices in your ear, right, He don't want the message confused. We all hear from God differently. When I'm in church, and granted, I'm not one of these people who would like go to church like every Sunday, or even some of you guys 3 and 4 times a week, which I think is amazing. Truly. It's just, I gotta do what works for me. I gotta do what I feel in my spirit, right? How I connect. So when I'm in church, and this is just not one church, right? This is, if I'm honest, this is every single church I've ever attended. I don't care how beautiful the church is. I don't care how beautiful the pastor and the members are. In every church, there are some demons too, right? In every church, there's just some people who just there to show off their Easter Sunday dress and their sparkling shoes. They're just there for that reason, solely. Because I'm so spiritually sensitive, all of my empath tap in. Because I'm so spiritually sensitive, I pick up on every person's spirit. So if there's 100 people in the church, if there's 100 people who have pure spirits, I'm good. But come on. I'm good. But there's too many different spirits that's open up in one building. Half of them are demonic. Half of them are just there to screw the pastor. The other half is there to gossip about the other ladies. It's too much. It's too much. It's too much spirits in one building, and it's not pure. So for me, what it does, it distracts me. So now it's like my spirit just seems to be all over the place, pinging all over the place. My spirit isn't settled because there's too much different spirits that are open up that is not pure. So in order for me to hear from God, I have to be in a place of purity. I have to be around people who have pure spirits. It doesn't mean they're perfect, because they ain't that cute, boo. I ain't that cute, boo. It doesn't mean that they're perfect, but their spirit is pure. You got to find people who are on your level or higher. Being the visionary that I am, right? Either I'm going to get a spiritual prompting or a vision. Well, the vision typically comes after the spiritual download, but it's just this knowing, right? And I can remember, like, truly, just probably at the beginning of trying to hear from God or learn from God or just figure out, I'm just confused, because it's like people say you're supposed to be talking to God. How do you talk to God? Like, what do you mean just talk to God? Like, so people who are more spiritually inclined than yourself, because maybe they've been on the walk a little longer. Again, that doesn't mean church, holy. That just means you have a relationship with God, and God is giving you a path of the will for His life, for your life. I'm sorry, the will for your life from him. So it can be very, very challenging, very, very confusing, because you don't even know what you're supposed to be looking for. You don't know if God is talking to you, if he's not talking to you. So what do? You run to all your friends. Like, I think God said this, but I don't know. First thing your friends are going to say, well, no, because you don't hear from God unless you read the word. And you're trying to, like, I don't even understand the word yet. Like, the word is so confusing. It's like Charlie Brown's teacher. Wah, wah, wah. Listen, I just started, maybe a year and a half ago, started to understand scriptures. Right? Thank God for Pastor R.C. Blakes, who gave me some insights and prayers on that. But it made no sense to me. Mind you, I was still getting my spiritual downloads. So ding, 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 ding. I'm still hearing from God through spiritual downloads and don't even understand the Bible. When I began to understand the Bible then, and hear me clear. I am no Bible scholar. It's still a struggle, but I'm learning more and more. Here's what helped me, in addition to Pastor R.C. Blake's praying for me in this area and leading me to a certain Bible. I assume, no one told me this, I just assume that when you read the Bible, it's almost like a book from, like a story, like a book from beginning to end. There's a beginning, middle, plot, ending. Like, that's how I really thought it. But for me, it's not that. For you, and maybe, I don't know. For me, it's not that. For me, I almost feel like, of course, there's certain things that we all need to hear about, things like that. But I also feel like God has given me certain revelations specifically for me, versus me trying to create this narrative of a story. I'm looking for this story that he's telling me about people in the Bible, which it is, but I was so blocked there that I couldn't receive. And once I realized, like, when I just open it, right? When I just open the Bible, God, please guide me and direct me exactly where you need me to be in the word today. Help me to receive it in the way that you need me to receive it. Block any demonic spirits from interrupting or confusing this word. Allow me to receive it the way you need me to receive it. In fact, I do that every morning. That's how I get my messages. Not for you guys. Typically, I make my recordings before reading, because for some reason, the spiritual downloads is what I always get convicted to share, where the word ends up being something specifically for my current journey, alone for me. It's the weirdest thing. But you got to understand how God deals with you. Many people are so screwed up because people are screwing them up. No one has to understand it. That's why it's called a personal journey. It's a personal walk. So I remember going to friends. God, I don't know. This is probably maybe 7 years ago, something like that. And I was like, I think God is saying this. I think God is saying this. I think God is saying that. And they're like, no, I don't think that's God, because that's not like perfection, how it should be in the Bible, right? In order for you to hear from God, it has to be like biblical. It has to be churchy, holy, holy, not biblical. Churchy, holy, holy, that type of thing. But I knew what my spirit was feeling, even though they were way more spiritually inclined than myself at that time. Still is, I guess. But I couldn't shake what I felt in my spirit. See, whatever God downloads to you and however way you hear from him, it's going to be something so profound in your spirit, you can't shake it. This is not something you created. Because most times, if not all, for me, it's not even something you concocted. You didn't even think about it. You didn't want it. It was just downloaded to you. You wanted something else, as a matter of fact. If it's from God, it's going to sit in your spirit. It doesn't leave your spirit. You got to be very careful when people are telling you, no, no, no. Please, please. Because even 7 years ago, when I would hear these things, now me just being just naturally that leader mindset, I didn't tell them like, child, actually you're the one who's off. But it's cool because they can't feel what I feel, right? But I know that I know that I know. And so when I leave you, right? Now I'm not saying this, right? But I'm saying to myself, when I leave you, I'm not going to let this go because I just can't. So I'm just going to have to just find out what this nudge is all on my own. And that's exactly where God needs you. That's exactly where he needs you, all on your own. So he'll start introducing himself to you in different ways. It may not be through your word. It may be your word. It may be you sitting somewhere homeless on a park somewhere. And God just starts to communicate with you. It can be through an audible voice. It could be through... Now, I've never heard... I think I may have heard the audible voice one time in my life, right? I have a friend who hears the audible voice frequently. But he will, however he's going to communicate with you, he's going to introduce himself to you. And it's very, very subtly. Very subtle. It's not this big boom. And I think that's why a lot of people too feel like they're not hearing from God. Because sometimes people will make you think it's like this boom of a celebration. There's tambourines and no, child. It's very, 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 very subtly. For one, he don't want to scare you. Right? He don't want to scare you. God is very loving. He's very gentle. He's very kind. Right? So he may just speak to you, but most likely it's going to be at a time where you are somehow isolated. That can be in a hospital bed. That can be you're just homeless. That can be you're in isolation season because he stripped you from everything. Like most times you're going to be in a place where you're alone. And now this ain't for everybody now, so please don't like confuse my words. Right? And so it will grow. 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 Right? And then you start to hear from him even more and more. Then it becomes even more profound. But this is a whole process. Right? And again, this is not for everybody because I'm sure somebody else may have a completely different story. But that's the whole point. That's the whole point. It's personal. It's a personal journey. And as time went on, everything that I felt in my spirit, and because I didn't leave it because someone else said yay or nay, I just kept following the spiritual promptings. I kept following what I felt, and all of those things have now manifested. One thing that I know for a fact, one of my friends, we laugh about it. Actually, her name is Kizzy too. Her real name is Kizzy too. But we laugh about this like to this day when we talk about it. I remember, let me just tell you, honey. All I knew is that I kept hearing God told me I was going to be in the middle. I didn't know what that meant. I just kept telling her, I was like, Kizzy, I don't know what it is. God keeps telling me, right? I keep getting this feeling in my spirit that I'm going to be in the middle. Like I'm not going to be churchy, holy, right? But I'm not going to be all ghetto on the street, right? I'm somewhere tied up in the middle. God keeps showing me this bridge. And she's like, that is not from God. God cannot use you if you're in the middle. You need to be sanctified, holy. And I'm like, but that's not what I feel in my spirit. It was the most confusing thing because God would not let me shake this middle thing. I didn't know what it was. He just kept telling me I'm going to be this bridge in the middle somewhere. But honey, she thought I had lost my marbles because ain't no way in the world, honey. If you ain't churchy, holy, God is not going to use you. And now it's clear as day. It's clear as day. Right? See, God will give you things, but we all interpret them differently. So the middle was not saying you're going to be somewhere in the middle, as in if you're going to be, what is it called when you're kind of playing the fences or whatever the case may be. For the middle was more so less about being your true, authentic, transparent self. People who are churchy going to not pull from you, are going to gravitate towards you. And people who are not churchy, holy. In fact, these people may not even know me yet. But because of your authenticity, they're going to also gravitate towards you. So the middle is about being so true. That's how Pastor R.C. Blakes is. The same way. Now, he's churchy, holy, right? To a certain degree. But he's so transparent and so loving and so authentic and genuine and not trying to hide his flaws or his past faults, where it drops this security guard almost, where people from all walks of life feels safe, don't feel judged. Yet he's still giving you truth. He's still giving you that Bible. He's still giving you honesty. But you don't feel all like, I got to go and hide under a table somewhere because I had some champagne last night. I got to go hide under a table because I don't know, I did something crazy 2 weeks ago. Child, please, we are human beings. We're going to make mistakes all the time. That's not the point. The point is, when you slip, the goal is to not do it again. But not where religious folks are going to throw you in hell, honey, because you mess around and had a lustful moment and you wink at the chick at the grocery store. You're going to hell, sir. Your heart is pure. Your spirit is pure, honey. But you had a moment, honey, and they're going to throw you in hell because you wink an eye. Oh, my goodness gracious. Lord, help us. Friends, don't let anybody, me, your mama, your daddy, anybody tell you differently when you know that your spirit has downloaded something to you, a promise that God has made to you. Because God is using people even more. He's always used me very non-traditionally, but he's using people even more. But a lot of people are afraid. I remember, she may still be subscribed to me, but I had a young lady who emailed me, I don't know, last year sometime, but she came from a very, very religious background, to the point like you can't even wear like knee-length shorts, like one of those type of backgrounds. Very, very, religious, but she felt like God was pulling her in a different direction where it's not so, religious based, but still God based. And she was just too fearful. She was just like, there's no way in the world my family will even, So I get it, especially when you was raised that way, because it's like now you're going against the grain of what your parents taught you, all that stuff. But at the end of the day, once God makes it clear to you that he wants to use you, you can't worry about other people. You can't not worry about other people. Do you know how many older, mature ladies want to throw me to hell because I show too much legs? And trust me, it has nothing to do with legs, honey. It has nothing to do with legs. You mad for another reason, but we gonna leave that for another day. It has nothing to. How you mad because I ain't showing too much legs, but you sleeping with the pastor? On that note, I'm out. You guys have a great one. It's your girl, Kizzy Rock.